Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. The Tony Hawk franchise is one of my all-time favorites, from the early days of getting high scores with time limits to the more open Underground 2. Yet as we move to the next release, American Wasteland, things have gotten so much larger. An open-world skating game with a larger story than ever. I played through the original Xbox version recently, and I want to give you some history along with my review. All footage was captured off of an original Xbox, and I'd like to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop into this one. After the release of Tony Hawk's Underground 2, it's easy to assume that Neversoft was hard at work on the next entry in the franchise. They were releasing games 6 years in a row at this point, and the 7th one would be no different. American Wasteland would debut at E3 2005, which was a massive year for the convention, with the 360 coming out later in the year, and there were plenty of PS3 previews. When shown off, American Wasteland was all about its open world. Every level in the game would be interconnected, and it was promised that there would be no loading screens. This was the most significant promotion for this game, as loading screens are a plight for many gamers. Once you load into the game, it is all gameplay from there. Even the commercial promoted this. It was a huge deal.
This has gotta go.
After E3, many interviews would hype this up as a return to the punk aesthetics of skating in the past. There was a soundtrack crafted for this game with contemporary bands covering punk songs. The game would feature skating legends like Tony Alva to bring together an old-school skating feeling. Not only that, but more parkour would be included, which was getting trendier at the time. This Tony Hawk was looking to be the most ambitious entry yet. It was even going to launch as an Xbox 360 launch title soon after its Xbox, GameCube, and PS2 launches, pushing the franchise into the next generation. It would first release on those 6th generation consoles in North America on October 18, 2005, and would see a European release soon after. It would also get released on the 360, mobile, and PC later. If you have been following my reviews of Tony Hawk games, you know I have a deep history and love for the Tony Hawk franchise. These are games I grew up with and adored. The commercials, articles, and magazines got me to get this game as soon as it came out. I was fed into the hype of the open world with no loading screens. I had loved Tony Hawk's Underground 2 so much, but I never beat this one. Something about this game never pulled me in, and I remember having issues with it as soon as I started it. So this for me was when I got off the Tony Hawk train, and I never really played any of the newer entries after this one. Yet I would say it's as perfect a time as any to check this one out again and see how I feel about it now. So I gave the Xbox release a full playthrough, and let me give you my opinions. And I want to say I'm only talking about the original Xbox version today, not the 360 version, since I want to keep it consistent since I've reviewed every original Xbox Tony Hawk game. I'll save the 360 one for its own review or comparison, and let me know if you'd like to see that. But let's go ahead and hop into this review, breaking it down, starting with the plot.
Well, bye! Good luck with the skateboarding. As I say in acting, break a leg!
Hey, go back to Kentucky, farm boy. Locals only.
Tony Hawk's American Wasteland is heavily focused on its plot. Underground and its sequel had stories with cutscenes, but Wasteland is heavy with cutscenes and utilizes more original characters over professional skaters, though they do make appearances. In this game, you pick from a lineup of characters and take a trip to LA from the middle of nowhere. You are pointed out as a farm boy right when you get to LA, and a punk girl named Mindy helps you out. She introduces you to LA and her gang of skaters. It's here you meet Iggy, an old school skater who has escaped from the limelight. You aim to raise enough money to buy land for a legendary skate park while getting new objects to skate on for it. Hijinks happens in the middle of all of it, and it's less random and feels more interconnected than ever, going hand in hand with the new interconnected world. I do appreciate the plot given to this entry of Tony Hawk. The characters are fun, like the Tony Hawk nerd and the old-school skate punk Iggy. It keeps the lightness of Underground 2 without all of the jackass stunts, allowing it to feel like it's something that can last through generations, even if it uses a lot of lingo of the era. It's a short plot lasting only around 5 hours in total, but what's there is fun. This game is loaded with cutscenes, which my complaint here might go more with gameplay, but I noticed many of them cut into the actual gameplay. If you finish a goal, it wouldn't let you actually finish the combo or trick, it just cuts you right off into a cutscene, which I felt was a bit jarring. One thing about the plot I don't love is that I feel like it stops dead in its tracks sometimes. The game is segmented into sections where you can't get past a particular area until you complete side jobs for cash. This can stop the flow of the plot for a bit, though I do understand that this is so you don't blaze through the plot and you get some time to experience everything this game has to offer. Things like this only slightly hurt the plot. I do think this is a good fit for the Tony Hawk series as far as story goes. It has the up-and-coming plot of the first Thug, mixed with some silliness of its sequel. This gives it a nice balance and some fun side characters. I think it's a nice elevation to the formula and helps makes this entry stand out. As a longtime Tony Hawk fan, American Wasteland is a game that fits like a perfect glove. It's the same gameplay from Thug, which is exceptionally smooth, moving with the control stick, ollieing, grinding, and manuals all work ideally and as they should. It's an arcadey sense of comboing that works well and is easy to sink your teeth into. Controls-wise, in the Tony Hawk series, this game is perfected up to this point, and skating remains a blast. It's easy to grasp, and it's suitable for newcomers, though old-time fans might have some trouble getting into it at first because the tutorials in the beginning are extremely slow to get through. It's how you unlock moves to use as well, which a lot of these were series standard for a while. It's a bit of a drag, but after getting through the tutorial, you rush out into an enjoyable time controls-wise from here on out. You also get some new moves like the Burt and the Rail Stall, with the Rail Stall being particularly cool, which works like a lip trick but on a rail. The most significant additions come in the form of parkour, which isn't just hopping and getting off your board anymore. This game now implements a double jump, wall runs, and wall jumps to combo tricks together. I won't say they're a fantastic addition, and I do feel like they are too much on top of an already complete system, but by no means do these ruin the game. It gives it a zany edge, and it comes in handy to lengthen combos. I do think the BMX sections are unnecessary though. I do understand why they're added to give this game even more definition. They also let you use the right stick more in tricks, allowing you to swing your bike around, which is fun, but I just really never wanted to play with them. I found myself wanting to skate instead of using the bike, and I ultimately forgot about this portion of the game for most of my playthrough because it just wasn't as fun as skating. This game is set in an open world, and as touted, there are no loading screens. Technically, they are hidden behind bus rides between areas and long plain corridors between areas to allow for the new level to load. Even in the corridors, it stutters to enable the next area to load up. It was very noticeable then, as it is now, that these are masks to hide loading screens, which I felt extremely mixed about back in the day, yet now I find it to be creative. They're not the most exciting part of the game, but at least the corridors allow for what feels like a seamless world, allowing you to play during the loading screens, which is ambitious. This includes a compass and a slew of side missions. These are mainly you being tasked with doing Tony Hawk classic goals like hitting certain moves or getting a high score. I would have liked more variety in the side missions, but it's a nicer way to make the world feel full. The open world design detracts from the gameplay. While I found many of the levels in LA to be good, they're nowhere near the heights set by many of its predecessors. This is more of a comparison issue than a quality issue because they are fun. I do like the cityscapes and different ways things are laid out to get nice lines across places like East LA or Santa Monica. They do have nice areas to skate in, but none of them are as good as the last two games. They feel small and a bit empty. I think it's an after effect of an open world design having to parse it down a bit. Now, I don't think they're bad, but I do find a few of them just to be bland. Like early Hollywood and Beverly Hills, they don't have much going on in their layout. They're fun, no doubt, and have some solid spots, but after years of Tony Hawk, this one doesn't feel like the next big step. I think it comes from it all being set in LA. It feels like not much changes between your jumps in areas. Rather than a globe-trotting feel of the other entries with a lot of variety, it leaves this one feeling like a lot of the same. Two of the sections as well are repurposed from old games, such as Oil Rig, which was in the Xbox version of Tony Hawk 3, and Casino from the PSP version of Thug 2. Though those are fun enough levels, the whole game is still entertaining. And none of this is bad. It's hard not to have a good time. It even updates in some cool ways, like the challenges around LA. Every store has challenges you take part in to level up your stats. It makes it feel like an RPG where you level up your skills and you make them better, and you actually get them from a certain mission rather than just by doing things while playing. Also, the level of customization is here. There are stores all over town offering tattoos, clothes, and haircuts, and they make your character more personable. Another complaint I hear about is that this game is too easy. And yeah, on normal, this game is a breeze if you've played any Tony Hawk before, but I never felt like it was detrimental to the experience, and it does have some fun goals. Most creative modes, like making your own graffiti, tricks, and skate parks, are back. All work closely to what they worked like before, and they're nice additions. However, the best addition happens to be Classic Mode. I'm so happy they kept this from Tony Hawk's Underground 2. This one has perks scattered around from classic Tony Hawk games and repurposes the bonus levels from the PSP version of Thug 2. I love classic Tony Hawk where you complete 2-minute goals in these areas. Many of these older levels are amazingly laid out, so I'm happy to experience them with an updated gameplay system. This is where it feels like 2 games in 1, and I think that's awesome. The gameplay is flawed in my eyes, but that's because it's not reaching the heights a sequel should. Yet on its own, it's still a good time. Skating feels just as good as ever, and you get some extremely fun lines in this game. Despite some gameplay issues, I had a good time playing this one. Tony Hawk games before this one had multiplayer, and even most of the PS2 versions had online multiplayer. Yet it never came to Xbox Live in its run until this release. American Wasteland gained online multiplayer through Xbox Live, and it's available through the Xbox Live replacement service Insignia. So I set up a session and I got to play this one online recently. Thank you to everyone who played, it was a great time. And American Wasteland is a lot of fun online. I should mention that this offers local multiplayer as well, and this game can have you with 7 other people in an online lobby. You can free skate in any of the levels that you've played through in the game, and you freely move around. A slew of game modes are available though in each level and can be swapped out very quickly and take up very little time. Stuff like achieving a high score or getting the highest combo, those are all classic fun, but it's the weirder stuff that I really got a kick out of. I loved graffiti where you do tricks on pieces around the park and other people can steal those from you. It's chaotic with a ton of people. There's Slap, which has you hitting people and that counts as a point when you do. There's a lot of creativity everywhere, and it's a fun game to play with a group. My time online went by fast, and it's one that I recommend checking out.
You're looking good, Chief. You're looking good. You see that kicker down there?
Visually, I'm a bit surprised by this one on the Xbox. The past 3 Tony Hawks supported 720p in widescreen, and they all looked amazing because of it. Yet this one takes away widescreen and only runs at 480p. I'm guessing this is because the game is larger and needed this to run, but Project 8 after this supports widescreen, so I'm not sure. So this entry on the Xbox is not quite as crisp as the others, yet it's still a good looking game. I always like the Neversoft graphics, and I think they flesh it out well stylistically here. This entry goes for a harder punk edge and features some amazing colors. I especially love the art from Jimbo Phillips in the cutscenes. These are awesome and help give this one a different edge than the rest of the franchise. I think you see many repeat animations from the last games, but the cutscenes are a bit more fleshed out and dynamic. The harder focus on cutscenes allows the character models to shine through, and though they're not breathtaking by any means, they have a nice style. And this style goes down into the locales too. One thing I can appreciate about the levels is the detail that went into them, from the graffiti in East LA to the shops in Beverly Hills. This game does a good job of defining the levels it creates. I do think it's a bit disappointing because it's not as clean on the original Xbox as the other entries, but it still looks good. With the Neversoft graphics mixed with the punk, it at least sets itself as something different up to this point stylistically, and I can appreciate that.
Dude, my bad. Oh, hey, look, we're working on putting together a video. The sale's going to buy back Green Pipes Point. Any chance you want to be part of it?
Oh, Green Pipes Point? That place is legendary. Yeah, I heard that was awesome back in the day.
So you'll do...
One thing consistent between Tony Hawk's is that they have some excellent soundtracks, and this is no different, with many songs from a mix of a ton of genres. They get some huge artists like Green Day, The Doors, and Motley Crue, yet this thing is filled with great punk acts like Black Flag and the Circle Jerks, yet it's even got some great underground rap like Del the Funky Homo Sapien and LP. Also, there's a track featuring MF Doom, and Oingo Boingo pops up. Some really interesting stuff here. It's a great curated list of songs, however, it's a positive no matter what, because this game supports custom soundtracks. Whatever albums you have burned to your Xbox hard drive will play while you skate around LA, which is always a winning feature. The voice work is solid here too, going for actual voice actors over pros in the main story. This helps a lot with delivery and makes the plot more believable. Skaters show up and do voices, but they're not the most convincing, though that's not a negative here. I like that it's authentic. Yet having more emotion from the leads and cutscenes leads to a more effective story, and that's appreciated. The sound effects pretty much stay the same. Gold completions, grinds, and sound effects like reverting stick around, and at this point these are iconic and work well in the game, so I see no need to change them. Keep them here for great feedback when you skate, and it also feels familiar. Part of the experience is hearing these great noises, like when you pull off a 900. It's what works well here, and there's no need to change it. American Wasteland is flawed. It has some weak levels compared to what was coming out for the past few years. I think there's too many superfluous updates such as the BMX, yet at the end of the day, it still has a lot of elements that make it a good entry no matter what. The music rocks and the gameplay is perfect. Gameplay this well done, no matter where it's at, it's still going to pull out many great hours. Pulling off combos is a blast, and despite being weak in comparison, on its own, these levels happen to be well designed. Throw in classic mode and a great online, and you still have another good entry in this franchise. On my ranking list of original Xbox games I've covered on the channel, American Wasteland goes in at the number 39 slot. I put Mortal Kombat Deception above this one because I feel like the variety in that game is awesome, and it's a really solid and entertaining fighter. But this does go above Dynasty Warriors 3 because I feel like American Wasteland has a stronger amount of variety in its gameplay, and the gameplay mechanics feel like it has more to offer upon replay. Ranking up the Tony Hawk games on the original Xbox, this one enters at number 5 of 6. I liked it better than 4 in terms of gameplay, content, and layout, but I think the other entries just have stronger levels. American Wasteland received generally favorable reviews with a 77 on Metacritic. Most were positive, but it did have some mixed reviews. IGN gave it an 8.5, saying the focus and attitude were far better than Thug. GameSpot gave it a 7.5, saying it was fun, but the levels were far too easy. In their holiday 2005 edition of Official Xbox Magazine, they would say that it was the same great gameplay with no delays, with a score of 8 out of 10. Yet Electronic Gaming Monthly seemed to have the most prophetic line with their 7.2 review, where they say, even though I like American Wasteland's Country Boy in the City storyline much better than last year's World Destruction Tour, the annual sequels will drive this franchise into the ground if publisher Activision doesn't take a break, and soon. The sales were still up for the franchise, with all versions of this game getting a Platinum Hits, Player's Choice, and Greatest Hits release. Tony was still on fire, and plenty of people were ready to pick this one up, and I was one of them. And of course, Neversoft went right into making the next one with Project 8, but they would change things up a little bit. Yet, we'll get there whenever I review that entry soon. Consensus today is very interesting because I see two sentiments mainly. One, that American Wasteland was the last good Tony Hawk, or that it was the beginning of the end. Still, both are placing this game on a dividing line between the more modern Hawks and the last of the arcadey style. Personally, I need more time with Project 8 to decide how I feel about it. Yet I do think this is a solid game, but it wasn't reaching the heights of the last one. Yet this one has plenty of fans who consider this the pinnacle of the series. There's even Rethought, a cool project where all of the games are combined into this engine, and I know a lot of you love this more than Underground 2, which I totally get. From what I saw, this is a divisive game with a ton of different opinions on it. On Backlog, it does hold a high 3.6 with almost 5,000 plays. There are plenty of people saying that they love it, and a lot of people were saying it was the beginning of the end, just like I said, but we'll see how that goes when I cover Project 8. But that wraps it up for today. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please leave a like, it helps me out in the algorithm. Subscribe to keep up with more retro Xbox content, and be sure to put in the comments if you loved or hated this game. I think everybody's opinion is important, and I love seeing what you say about these games. I also want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.